This is my final presentation for CPI 420, the effects of hacking on society. I'm going to start with a brief history of hacking. Hacking started in the 1960s when the first hackers appeared at MIT. They were students and they were part of a model train group. The group wanted their trains to perform better and faster, so they would quote-unquote hack into the electrical components of the train, the tracks and the switches to make them more efficient. So this was the first time users would physically change the components of an electrical device to make it work how they want it to work. In the 1970s, freaks came onto the scene. A freak is another word for a phone hacker. These individuals found ways to hack into phone systems and make phone calls for free. One of these freakers became particularly famous when he discovered how to make a long-distance phone call for free using nothing more than a modified cereal box toy. And that person was John Draper, also known as Captain Crunch. He figured out that he could modify a simple whistle that he got out of a box of Captain Crunch to emit a 2600 Hertz tone. This was the exact tone used to authorize a long-distance call from Bell System, making them for free. This was after human operating systems were taken out and computer operating systems for phones were placed in, and they would actually use tones to authorize certain phone calls around the country and around the world. So with this discovery, he saw another opportunity he just couldn't pass up. Draper developed what was known as a blue box. The box could mimic the sounds needed to bypass the phone system with the press of a button. So there is a picture of the blue box down there in the corner. With the speaker attached to the headset, you could do a combination of different tones, and that would bypass the system, and depending on what tones you'd use, would take you to other operators around the world and globe to make these phone calls. Plans to make the blue box found their way to a couple of young men named Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, who built and sold blue boxes together. This was a business relationship that would soon lead to the founding of Apple. So before Apple, Wozniak and Jobs actually had a business partnership selling blue boxes to people around the world. 1980s. During the 1980s, freaks began to move their work from phone companies to computers. This is when the BBS appeared, or the Bulletin Board System. BBS is kind of like Yahoo groups of today, where people can post messages and to be read by all, so like message boards. BBSs were used by hackers to share tips on how to hack systems, how to use stolen credit information, and how to share stolen passwords. And this, because of this, in 1986, the government finally realized the danger of computer hacking and passed the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which made computer hacking illegal across the nation. It made it a federal law to hack a computer for a malicious intent, with malicious intent. In the 90s is when hacking became mainstream. During the 90s, the internet became more and more popular. Hackers were able to broaden their horizons. So instead of using BBSs, hackers would just make websites, and using those websites they could post information for anyone to read. It's not until the end of the decade where security became a large part of the internet, where more and more systems were coming out with internet security. So today we all know the effects of hacking. We are told to be careful with personal information and using the internet, obviously. Now I'm going to talk about some commonly used hacks. The first type I will talk about is a virus. A virus is a self-replicating program that spreads by inserting copies of itself into another program or document. So everyone knows about viruses. They do not do good to your computer. A worm is just like a virus, in that it's a self-replicating program, but it differs in that it can spread through the computer, through your computer to another computer, through the network. And that can be done without any user intervention. So a worm can find its way from your computer to anyone else's computer without you doing anything. Trojan is simply a program or command that says it's one thing, but it really is something different, and that something different is usually malicious, meaning that a program that you download, you think it's one thing until you run it, and maybe it'll do that thing that you think it's going to do, but at the same time it's going to unload a package of maybe some hidden programs or commands, or it could even unload some viruses without the user ever knowing until that virus is found or it destroys the computer system. A packet sniffer is an application that captures and copies data packets, usually used to capture passwords and other data that is transmitted through a network. So a packet sniffer is just sitting there waiting for the information to come to it, and then it's going to capture it and copy it. So hacker hats is what I will discuss next. This is basically a classification of hackers. White hat hackers are also known as ethical hackers. They are usually computer security experts who specialize in testing and information systems security. White hats are also those hackers who hack for non-malicious reasons. So this is your everyday bored computer geek kid kind of hacker who just likes to mess around with his computer and see what he can do, see what he can change. So a gray hat hacker is a skilled hacker who uses their knowledge sometimes legally and sometimes not. They do not usually hack for personal gain, but they may or may not occasionally commit crimes. So as that definition sounds, it's the gray area between hacking, between being a malicious attacker doing only illegal work for profit, and a white hacker who just hacks for fun or for security reasons, trying to figure out how to fix some problems. So black hat hacker then is someone who bypasses computer systems without authorization, or one who hacks with malicious intent. Vandalism, credit card fraud, identity theft, and property theft are all included in this category. Black hat hackers are also known as crackers. They will be the ones that deliver viruses or worms into people's computers. They usually hack for profit for fun or for political motivation. If they are doing these malicious hacks for political motivation, sometimes they're called hacktivists. So you might be wondering how you could learn to hack. Well, there are countless websites on the internet that can assist users by learning the basics of hacking. More advanced techniques are also out there on the internet, but without some knowledge of what you are doing, they are nearly useless. You literally won't be able to read what the information is telling you without some sort of knowledge of the basic hacking. The internet's not the only way of obtaining information on hacking. On the hacking world, a magazine called 2600, the Hacker Quarterly, is a magazine that focuses on different aspects of technology and hacking, of course. 2600 is coming from it's referring to the 2600 hertz used by John Draper to hack the security systems. So a couple of websites that feature hacking challenges for anyone to try are